You're listening to Bro Cave Sports Podcast.
Look out! Here comes L.
There he goes! I don't think you get up from this! You want Philly food? With Nick Foles!
It's a touchdown by Nick Foles!
Yes! For the win!
That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
It's in my house.
David Beckham scores the goal. Oh, what a shot from Curry!
The Eagles are Super Bowl champions!
Your hosts, Sam Levin, Luke Dorfman, Dan Leonard. And now, let's step into the cave.
What is up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bro Cave Sports. I am Sam Levin. Joining me in the cave today is Luke Dorfman.
What's up, Bro Cave Nation?
Also, joining me in the cave today is Houston Texans Defensive Lineman Kurt Hinish. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, fellas.
All right. Well, I'm just going to jump right into it. One of the biggest storylines in the NFL this season was Damar Hamlin, and that was one of your high school teammates. So what was it like from a player inside the league and that perspective, plus you already played with him?
Yeah, when I saw it happen, obviously we all thought it was just a concussion initially, right? Because you saw what happened earlier in the year with Tua when he got hit, and then he kind of stumbled. So we all initially thought it was a concussion. Then we later found out, there was like CPR being administered on the field, and the trainers had to save his life. Being a player inside of the NFL, it's just that comes with the territory of playing football. It's a violent game, and stuff happens sometimes, and it's out of our control. But he's doing great, and he's better. I'm really happy for him. Like I said before in the interview, if there's anyone that could have pulled through, it would have been him. So.
And with you two on the field together in high school, two now NFL players, were you guys the best defense in the state or what?
So our junior year was when we kind of were at our best. It was me, Damar Hamlin. We had Rodney Thomas, who plays for the Colts now. He plays safety for the Colts. We had. I mean, that whole entire defense played Division I football the next year, or the next year or the year after. And we had guys going to Pitt. We had two defensive ends going to Pitt. We had a kid going to Penn State. We had a bunch of our DBs were going to Pitt. We had a linebacker that went to Western Michigan. I mean, we were stacked my junior year. I mean, our offensive line, everyone from our offensive line went to play Division I football the next year or the year after, and we were stacked. We won the state championship game. It was 21-0 at half, and then in the second half they came back, and I think the game ended. It was like, I'm gonna say it was like 24-17 or something. I mean, we shouldn't have let them come back. They won. They didn't win. They got two jump balls towards the end of the game, but that was it. It didn't really matter.
I would say that's pretty scary going up against a whole Division I defense there. Talking about that secondary, even your defensive line, but secondary with those two back there, and then you up front.
It was. Yeah, we were really good, man. And I mean, we weren't even the best parts of our team. We had a running back, Ronnie Jones, who went and played at Toledo. He was a beast, man. We had great offensive line. I mean, our coaches were great. They just instilled that non-stop, relentless mindset in us, when we first stepped into the building. So I give all the credit to our coaches and the surrounding guys.
Now is like football like a big piece of culture growing up near Pittsburgh, or was that kind of just something unique to like your school and area, like just producing all that talent? Like, were you playing like a competition like for like a lot, or is it like more you guys?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look like just in the area that I grew up in, kind of on the south side of town. I mean, Chase Winovich grew up near where I'm from. Zane Zandier, who played for Virginia, he played middle linebacker for Virginia, is where I'm from. Like, this is just my part of the city. Rodney Thomas, he went to Central, is where I'm from. I'm sure I'm missing a whole bunch of guys. But then if you go up north, you got Aaron Donald. Dan Marino was from the city. Stefan Wisniewski was from up north. I mean, there's just countless guys. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, football is huge. It's all about football in Pittsburgh. Yeah, football and wrestling. That's about it.
And before we got on here, we were talking about how your high school was right near Pitt. So does that make it easy for Pitt to recruit your high school? I mean, besides you guys being that good, but that they can see them in that kind of sense?
It definitely gives them a leg up when we're in their backyard. They kind of see the product first before everybody else, especially because our coaches are pretty tied in with the Pitt coaches. Just because we're so close to their campus, they're always talking and doing stuff like that. So they definitely see the product before everybody else. So they definitely have an upper hand on everybody else when it comes to recruiting us because we're in their own backyard,
Yeah.
So, like, what about your recruitment process with like Notre Dame? Like, were they kind of just like coming in and then kind of got entangled, or was that something like you had it on your mind going in?
So my recruiting process, it was kind of, I mean, it was interesting because when I was a sophomore, so I had a crazy weight gain in high school. So when I was a freshman, I was 190 pounds. And to play defensive end and to go to college play defensive end, my dad said, you're probably going to have to be around 240, 250. So I went from 190 to 240 in an off season, right? Just eating 10, 11, 12,000 calories a day, working out twice a day, like just, and then, so I got to 240, played my sophomore season at 240. We lost to Ben DiNucci, who plays in the XFL now in the semifinals, not at the stadium. And then after my sophomore year, I picked up one offer from Toledo. It was to play defensive end. And then I was kind of like, my dad was thinking, I'm not tall enough. I'm only 6'2", and my arms aren't long enough to play defensive end at a Division I FBS Power 5 school. So he's like, let's put more weight on you. We'll move you inside. You'll play D tackle. All right. So then I went from 240 to 285. And then after that, I started to play better inside. I was way faster than everybody. And then I put on all that strength and all that muscle in the off season. Worked out with our high school trainer, Andy Machurak, did a great job with us down at Central. And then Dwayne Brown with 210 speed and agility. Worked out with them, and they just put a ton of muscle on me, and I ate a lot and all the recovery stuff. Started to pick up offers. I think my second offer was Rutgers, and then it was like Vanderbilt, like Miami of Ohio, and then they just all started to come in. Pitt was my 10th offer, which is kind of crazy because I was in their own backyard. You know what I'm saying? I was a little bit upset about that one. I grew up, I was a hometown kid. I would have loved to have played at Pitt. But I just kind of felt a little bit disrespected that I was their, the 10th offer. I was in their backyard. So then I got offered by Penn State. And then I think a couple of days later was Notre Dame. Once I got offered by Notre Dame, my dad was like, bro, we got to go visit there. I said, all right, whatever. So we went to visit there. And whenever I stepped on that campus, I just felt the culture, the tradition, everything about it. And I just felt like I was at home. So I visited there one time on my ride home. I said to my parents, I was like, yeah, that's where I'm going to school. So that was it.
And 11,000 calories is an insane amount of calories. How does one eat that much calories without being like, gosh, I'm just overly stuffed?
So you learn to force feed yourself. So like your stomach, you can stretch out your stomach by putting enough food into your stomach. So like if you ate a whole pizza right now, you'd be stuffed, right? But if you just kept force feeding yourself, your stomach would eventually stretch. And it would get bigger, and then which will allow you to eat more. So I'd wake up in the morning and I'd probably eat, if I didn't have eggs and some potatoes, I'd probably have 4 PB&Js, and I'll wash it down with like a protein shake. And then once I got to school, I'd have a protein bar, and then I had some almonds in my locker. I'd eat that, right? And then about 4th period, I'd have lunch. And my family, we didn't have a ton of money. So what I would do is I would take cans of tuna fish to school with me. I would eat cans of tuna fish with half a loaf of bread, which was 99 cents from the store. So that was lunch right there. I would mingle around the cafeteria and ask dudes for quarters. And you would get a couple of quarters, and then I'd go to the vending machine and get some kind of chips or something, right? They had these sticky buns that were in the vending machine. They were 500 calories. So I knew there was 500 calories right there. So I'd go, always get those. They were $1.50 you walk around, but hey, man, I'm short of a quarter. You got me. Once you do that to 4 or 5 people, you got enough for
That's a great system.
honey bun. So then I would go to after lunch, it would be like 6th or 7th period. I'd go to my locker, I'd eat another protein bar. Before I'd work out, I'd eat a PB&J. After I'd work out, I'd eat 2 PB&Js. I'd come home, I'd eat dinner, whatever I had for dinner that night. So after lifting, I'd eat something small. I'd go training again for the second time at night. I'd go training with Dwayne Brown and do my running and agility stuff. Come home, I'd eat dinner once. Before I went to bed, I'd eat dinner again. And then right before I went to sleep, my dad would make this 5,000 calorie shake, and I would just chug it before I went to bed. That way my body wasn't eating itself all night, so I wouldn't be losing weight, so I was just gaining weight rapidly. But it was crazy. When I first started, I was force feeding myself. I would get sick, like puke. It was miserable, but it all works out. So
that's a different part of commitment. I would never even think about that. Like part of like trying to be like a D1 athlete like that. That's crazy. Like
That's
that's what I set out to do. Whenever you set out to do something, you do whatever it takes to do that, right? So,
all the honey buns, it worked.
Honey buns, man, they were 500 calories. That's what I knew. They're 500 calories. On a good day, I might be able to get 2 of them suckers. That's 1,000 calories right there. I only got 10,000 more. So
you got to ask 10 people for that, for the quarters.
Yeah, well, I'd sneak $1 from someone here and there, and then that'd be it.
And then now getting away from your weight gain, I guess, now we can kind of talk about Notre Dame. When you first stepped on to practice field at Notre Dame, was it just a culture shock in a sense that was it that big of a jump from your high school, or did you feel at home?
I felt at home, but there's definitely the speed element of when you move from high school to college. I mean, the game was just way faster. And I remember going through drills when I was a freshman with all the older dudes and just like, wow, everything's moving faster. There's a lot of moving parts, especially when you get together and start going through drills and you either get on board or you get left. So that's pretty much it. But it didn't take that long for me to adapt. I ended up playing when I was a freshman. I probably could have redshirted, but we were light on guys, so I ended up playing when I was a freshman. But I got that experience early, and I think that I had an edge in other guys because I was able to play early.
Yeah, for sure. And then it seemed like each year you guys kind of got better and better. And then your last season, you guys went and you had an unbelievable season. So what was it like to be a part of that?
It was cool, man. I mean, we had a great group of guys, and I attribute everything that we had to our strength staff that we had when I was there. Matt Bayless was just an unbelievable strength coach, and the culture and we call him the minister of culture because what he instills in those kids is it's second to none, and he cares about you as a person, as a player. He develops you as a player, but as a young man. So a lot of success is from him and what he does to those kids and what he teaches those kids from on the field and the weight room to being a person, just being a winner. So I attribute a lot of the success to him, the coaches. I mean, we had a tremendous support staff there. It was just a family-like environment. Notre Dame is one of those places where, you either love Notre Dame or people hate Notre Dame. So there was a lot of hate, but at the same time, there's a lot of love, and it's a big family. So we had a great group of guys. I mean, I met some of my best friends from up there. So it was awesome. It was a really great experience.
And can we now talk about that Clemson game that you guys went into double overtime?
Yeah, that was insane. That was absolutely insane.
I remember watching that game. I bet you guys that game too. That was like first when I was getting into like gambling a little bit with my dad. Yeah. It was a crazy watch.
It was insane. So we went to overtime. First play of overtime, they ran a crosser across the middle. They ran a slant across the middle and scored first play. They threw it on our freshman cornerback. And obviously that was, freshman quarterback, big game. First play, touchdown. Well, then our offense came out and scored. And then they came out and we shut them down. And our DB, showed up and they did a great job and they were able to to give us enough time to get to the QB. But it was an insane game, and especially it was during COVID. There was really nobody in the stands. I think there was like the seating capacity at that time was only allowed to be like 20,000, 25,000 people. So the stadium was pretty empty, but it was loud. So I could only imagine what it sounded like this year when Clemson was there and we beat Clemson. But when I was there, it was loud. And there was only 25,000 people there, which is crazy. So then we won. Everyone stormed the field. I mean, it was insane. Like, it was one of the craziest things I've ever been a part of. But it was really cool. It was really cool.
How do you stay locked in that magnitude of a game?
What's that?
How do you stay that locked in a magnitude of a game and double overtime to make yourself like get going? I mean, your endurance probably was shot.
Because that's one of those things that I attribute to Matt Bayless, our strength coach. He puts us in situations where you're dog tired, and it comes to a point where you're so tired that it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it comes to a point where you're so tired you can't get any more tired, and at that point, it's all about your focus and the habits that you build through practice, through workouts, what you're going to do when your body's that tired. Because at that point, you're not really thinking about playing. It's more mechanics and the habits that you build.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's just all muscle memory. It's all muscle memory at that point. But at the end of the day, it's football. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a big stage, right? But at the end of the day, it's still, a 100-yard field by 53. Like, it's still football at the end of the day. It's the same thing you guys probably played growing up. It's the same thing I played when I was a kid. It's still football. Even today, you look at this NFL, at the end of the day, it's still football. It's something you grew up doing.
Exactly. Did you treat yourself to a honey bun after that game? Double overtime win?
Myself to a lot of things after that game. It was fun after that game.
I'm sure it was.
I can imagine that's gonna be a great aspect. Just like, I don't know, being a student athlete, like just like outside the rare times like you're outside the facilities and stuff like that. Like when like you're just like moving, I guess, on campus or like in class, and just being an athlete, I feel like that's gotta be pretty cool. Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's definitely cool, but at Notre Dame, there's kind of a weird ordeal where, like, I don't know, like sometimes you're looked down upon because you're not like you didn't get into that school to be a student. You're there to play football,
Yeah.
right? And it's a heavily dominated academic school. Like,
It's so hard to get into academically.
so, like, right? So, you have a subgroup of kids on campus that really dislike the football players. So, like,
Really?
and I was never the dude to walk around like and wear a Letterman's jacket and like puff my chest out and try to act like I was a football player. You know what I'm saying? Like one of my best friends in the whole wide world to this day was a kid that I lived across the hall from when I was at Notre Dame. He was a regular student. He's a computer engineer. So from that aspect, I think Notre Dame do a great job of integrating us with the student body. And when we're freshmen, we're randomly assigned students. We don't get to pick our roommates when you're freshmen. So they randomly assign you a student. It don't matter who you are.
Huh.
That's crarazy.
It's like
So,
it's like you're like a 4-star, 5-star recruit, just like with like a random dude.
Right. So my buddy, well, he's still a good buddy of mine to this day. He was a pre-med major. Like, I'd be laying in bed at 9:30 watching TV, watching South Park, cracking up, and because we'd be doing chemistry and stuff. And I'm sitting there eating pizza and laughing, and he's doing chemistry homework. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, that's crazy. You think about it now, especially because the high school and now the college, especially coming as a freshman, a lot of especially the top recruits are such high caliber players that like I can only imagine. That's like me playing basketball right now. I go somewhere and I'm rooming with Bronny James. Like, it's
insane. Well, and like so you're gonna like these kids are going and they're getting randomly assigned a roommate. Well, like now that NIL's out, you could be sitting across from the kid that's making $2 million a year. Right, you're a college student, and this kid's got Gucci and Louis Vuitton shoes in his cupboard, and you got Asics in your cupboard. So
you got ramen on the shelf.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So like, what are you gonna do? But that's a cool. I mean, it's definitely an even more interesting dynamic now if you think about it.
Huh.
Yeah, it really is.
I think that's pretty cool.
And was that the school decision or was that the football decision that's what they wanted?
That's a school decision. Yeah, football has nothing to do with that, and I don't think they ever will. I mean, unless there's like some kind of exemption, then I don't think it will ever change. But I think it's a good dynamic because it's healthy for the athletes. You know what I'm saying? Because not everything has to be about football 24/7. It's good to decompress and hang out with someone that doesn't play football. When I come home all the time, I don't want to sit here and talk to I mean, I love football. I love everything about football, so I could do that. But like for a majority of football players, when they come home, they don't want to sit here and talk about football. They want to decompress and talk about what else went on in their day and stuff like that. So I think it's a great idea. But with everything, there's balance. So like, if if your roommate's going out at 11 o'clock and coming back at 4 in the morning and you're trying to sleep and you got a 5:30 workout in the morning, that there's balance, right? You have to set ground rules and be like, I got to work out at 5:30. If you're going to come back late, either come back quiet or go to sleep in your buddy's room. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely balance when it comes to that.
For sure. And then back to that one season, the last season that you guys had, you guys went to the Rose Bowl and you guys played Bama. Did you guys know going into that game, or subconsciously know going into that game, that you guys were going to somewhat get whooped?
Yeah, I mean, we attacked every team with the same mindset that we thought we were going to win. I mean, but looking back on it, I don't think anybody knew that was going to be one of the greatest college football teams ever assembled at Alabama. I mean, that across the board was more like legit. I mean, they were a legit. They're in the running for one of the best college football teams of all time. They got Najee Harris, they had Mac Jones. Their offensive line was the Joe Moore Award winners. Devontae Smith, they had Jalen Waddle, they had John Mechie, they had Henry Ruggs was there. I mean, the defensive line, they had Will Anderson. If you look at the linebacker core, they had Christian Harris. They had one of the safeties they had, I forget his name, but I mean, dude, they were stacked across the board. I mean, they were unbelievable. I mean, they were so good. So going into the game, we were like, we're going to show up and punch these dudes in the face. You know what I'm saying? Let's see how, because this is what our coach said. Look, if we played Alabama 10 times, they'd probably beat us 9 times out of 10. But all we need is one time for them to slip, for us to play a little bit more unorthodox to win. So that was our game plan. And it was heartbreaking, man, because we showed up and we were ready to punch him in the face and keep playing. And then that opening kickoff happened, and their special teams dude came down the field and just totally depleted our returner. And in my head, I was like, oh shit, these dudes are good. These dudes are good. And then the Najee Harris, I remember I was standing on the sideline. I'm standing right there. I just came out. We just rotated. I just came out of the game, put a fresh set of guys in. Najee Harris, there was a pitch to the outside. And our linebacker, Drew White, who was my best friend, he was my roommate when I was at Notre Dame, he was getting held. So I'm screaming, he's getting held. And all of a sudden, I see Najee Harris go up and over our DB. And I'm like, our DB didn't ankle tackle him. Our DB, because we knew all week he loved to hurdle dudes. So we're like, tackle him up high. If he tries to hurdle you, make him pay for it. He goes up and over our DB, who was a good 5'10". And our DB didn't. Our DB was going to put his head into his chest. He went up and over him, went 60 yards and was tackled 5. It was insane. And at that point, I'm like, these dudes are different. But still, we didn't give up fighting until the end. I mean, that was the thing about us. We were going to just keep coming and coming and coming. That's just the way that we were built. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, they were just better than us.
They're crazy. And
yeah, they were great.
2 of them are the Eagles, so that's good news.
Yeah.
Just saying. Leonard Dickerson and Devontae. It's all good.
Well, he didn't even play in that game because he tore his ACL the week before.
Yeah, that's true.
The month before. So he didn't even play in that game. They had a backup center who played.
Was Leatherwood in? Was he the guy?
Leatherwood was there. Yeah, he was good. And then they had Evan Neal was the right tackle. He played. Yeah. He was the first round draft pick. He played for the Giants. He was really good. They had a kid, the guard. I forget his. I think his last name was Amel. He was really good. Their center was good. Their guard was that big dude that you saw. I mean, he was probably a good 365. He was a big dude. They were showing up, man, and they were beating teams because they were Alabama. But I mean, they were beating teams because they were really good too. Like a lot of times, they beat teams. There's like a Mike Tyson effect. They beat teams before they even step on the field because they're in their head. For us, we were like, no, we're going to show up and punch these dudes in the face. But we showed up and punched them in the face, and they punched us back in the face, and we just, and then eventually their punches landed more than ours. So it's, but whatever, man, it's all good. You live and you learn.
Exactly. And then now progressing from college to the NFL, undrafted guy. What was that like to be undrafted and trying to get to a team to try to get your chance to play?
Yeah, I mean, so during the draft, I was watching the draft and I was watching these names get picked, and I was getting really irritated because I felt like I was as good, if not better, than a lot of these dudes that were getting picked up. So I was really frustrated. But then our defensive line coach here at the Texans, he called me about a week or so before the draft, and I was like, "Look, Kurt, watch the tape. We absolutely love you. We'll see if we can draft you. If not, we'd love to have you as a free agent." All right, cool, whatever. So then the draft's happening, and he calls me. He's like, "Yo, I'm just letting you know." He was like, "Look, bro, if you come here, like, I was an undrafted dude. I played 10 years in the league. Like, you'll learn from me. Like, I promise you, we'll do this shit together." And he couldn't be more genuine. And I felt, I was sold. I was sold to him. And I believed in, Nick Caserio. I still believe in Nick Caserio, the GM, and I believed in their mission. So I wanted to be a part of it. And so that's where I went. And then I showed up and I was, I had that chip on my shoulder and wanted to make the team. I have a Post-it note on my locker in the locker room that says I'm drafted. So I never forget that. So I will never forget that. That's my driving factor, is that no one wanted you. So
makes sense. And that's what drove you to even make the active roster, which was probably not expected going in. Maybe for you, but I don't know if the team even expected that.
Yeah, I mean, I expected it. I knew I was going to do it, but not everybody else did. So.
And in practice, were you just balling? Is that what was going on?
I still just, to this day, every time I step into that building, in my mind, it could be your last day in that building. Like, the NFL stands for not for long. Like, you don't know when your time is going to be. Your time is going to come. The Reaper comes and gets everybody. So that's what my mindset. Every day I step in that building, it could be my last. So every day during camp, I would step into the building, and we have a linebacker, his name is Jake Hansen, and we would joke around like, it could be our last day. So that's how I looked at it. Like, every day literally could have been your last day. So that's how I treated it as such, even during the season.
Yeah.
Especially
now,
as
I still treat it that way.
Yeah, I mean, especially as the undrafted guy, you're probably looked at as the guy that they can just cut at any time.
Exactly. So I have to make myself valuable for them. So.
And then once the season started, I know, again, you never think in a season that you're going to be a losing team, you're going to lose every game, but that is what transpired. So how do you how does a team, not just yourself, because we know your why, but how does a team stay together to keep trying to compete every week to win?
Yeah, I mean, so like, we're grown men. We have families too. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have pride. Like, we have families. Do you think I want to go out there and lay on the field and let someone walk over me and let my mom and dad and brother and sisters, brothers and sister, watch me do that? I mean, what kind of role model, what kind of person would I be if I did that? And that's kind of how everybody on our team was. It didn't matter that, it didn't matter what our record was. We were going to show up and hit you in the face because we got more pride in that. We're grown men. These guys have kids. Like, you think they're going to lay on the field and then just let someone walk over them? Like, you're a grown man. That kind of, what kind of example is that for your kid? So we have pride as men.
Exactly. And did you guys win the first game?
We tied with the Colts.
Okay, yeah, I remember watching that. That was
we went up like 21-0 in the half. I came in the locker room like, man, like maybe we got it going on because they were a good team the year before.
Yeah.
They came back tied at the end of overtime. This is my first NFL game. I didn't know that after the overtime's over, that's it. There's no sudden death or nothing like that. I didn't know that. So that was it. And then we went to overtime with the Chiefs too. And
I remember that game.
man, I was so upset with that one. So it's all good though, man.
A little more upsetting game against the Chiefs was the Eagles Super Bowl. That was demoralizing.
I'm gone. I didn't even watch the game.
I couldn't. I watched like the ending, and it was pretty upsetting. But
Yeah, I didn't even watch the game. I was on a plane flying back to Houston. I scheduled it that way, but I didn't care. I wasn't in it. I really didn't care, to be honest with you.
do you find yourself watching a lot of like NFL games, like out like on like a weekday or a weekend when like you're like not too busy or?
Well, I mean, I watch a lot of film. Like, we watch a lot of film, so we're constantly watching NFL football,
Yeah.
right? If I had to choose whether to watch college or the NFL, I'd choose college any day of the week. I just think there's more at stake when it comes to college. The kids want it more, right? I mean, these kids are working for something. Like they're trying to get out of the mud for their families. Well, I mean, now the dynamic might change a little bit because of this NIL stuff, but I'll watch when I come home from the game, whatever, when we play 12 o'clock. So I'd come home, we'd toss on the game that was on TV and I'd watch that. And then, if there was a Monday night game and I wasn't doing anything sitting here, I'd do that. And Thursday, I would always watch Thursday night games. We'd eat dinner usually as a defensive line together on Mondays. We'd go somewhere to watch the game together and eat dinner. So yeah, but I really enjoy watching college football.
There was a good Thursday night game this year. It was Texans Eagles. I liked that game. It was a good game.
It was a good game for a little bit.
It was. It was actually. I was so mad at halftime. I was like, "There's no way we are this close with the Texans right now." But
yeah, I mean, like the thing about us is that like if you look at every game that we played in, we were in. I mean, there's only one or two games this season that we weren't in. So I mean, we were like, if you look at our record, we were like 10 points away from being like a 10 and whatever a 10-8 football. I mean, we could have, yeah. So I mean, it's all good though.
yeah, I wrote that down. I was like, you guys literally were in 1 point game, not one, but like 1 score games a lot of the time.
That's what I'm saying. Like it was every single game. We come back into the locker room and we lost by a point. We lost by 2. We lost by 3 points. Where we're just like we come back in the locker room. We're so mad because we're so close. You know what I'm saying? So.
And then, how would you rate your rookie season if you were given a letter grade?
For myself,
Yeah.
I'm a hard grader for myself. So like if I had to rate myself, I'd probably give myself like a C+. I'd say it was average. I'd say I did some good things, but I also did some bad things.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty hard grade. I'd say, yeah, you know what? I'd say C+. I grade myself pretty hard. There's no one that's harder on myself than me. So I'd probably say C+. But if I was talking to an NFL GM, I'd be like A+. Myself. So, but I did some good things. I did some not so good things. I kind of view it as a lot of people view it as, go to your rookie season, you just dip your feet in the water and you got next season. Well, for me, it's not like that because I was undrafted. So it's not like I got ample opportunity to just dip my feet in the waters. You get thrown in the fire and you either compete or you don't. So
yeah, exactly. And now coming back into this new season, first of all, I want to ask just how does the undrafted contracts work? So are you under contract?
So I signed a 3-year deal. So I'm still under contract. Okay. So I signed a 3-year deal.
That's perfect.
So I'll be here for 3 years unless they trade me or release me or whatever. But I don't plan on any of that happening anytime soon. So
exactly. And then now you said you did some good things, you did some bad things. Do you think you've already improved on, or what are you trying to improve on so you can be the dominant force next year?
there's just little things that you improve on, like, just with fundamentals and techniques, keep it comes to keeping your pad level lower, extending your arms, using your hands more, keeping your hips square, small stuff like that you work on that makes the world of a difference. You know what I'm saying? Just the little things that eventually add on to each other and lead to big things. So just stuff like that. Get stronger. I mean, like I'm a fairly strong guy, and I felt really good this year. I didn't feel like I faced anyone that was like way crazy stronger than me. But I also didn't have like an off season, because if you look at rookies coming into the NFL, they just trained to do the combine and run a 40-yard dash. You know what I'm saying? They didn't train to play an NFL season, so you don't really get a whole off season in. So now I'm able to get an off season under my belt, and I feel good, man. I feel good about coming back. So
Yeah, it's exciting. And this year, you guys starting off with the new head coach. He's a defensive guy. So are you excited? Yeah.
Yeah, I love having defensive minded coaches, just because, we reap all the benefits of having a defensive minded coaches, because the defense is always getting, the good stuff. We're always lifting first and the offense lifting second or stuff like that. When I was at Notre Dame, Brian Kelly was an offensive minded guy. So all the defensive guys were always like, the offensive guys get it so much better. They get to early lift time, so they're done earlier. They get to get out of the building earlier, this and that. Well, now it's like kind of like the opposite, and you kind of feel like you have the upper hand on the offense. So it's good. That's just me joking around, but I met him for the first time a couple weeks ago. Seems like a great dude. Seems like a real gun ho, young, fiery dude. So I'm excited to work for him. Excited to work with him.
He doesn't mess around.
Yeah, that's a good guy to have coaching a team, especially a football team. Texas, Houston. The coach got to match the city in a way. You got it.
He played for us, so he gets it.
Yeah.
It's funny that he sued the Texans, and now he's coaching the Texans.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I actually didn't know that happened. Which, man, someone told me that a couple weeks ago, but it doesn't really make a difference to me. I'm just here to play for the Texans. So
exactly. And then, what is your goal this season going forward? What are a few goals you have for yourself?
I just like goals for me is obviously number one, making the team again, right? Being a key contributor, just making plays and putting up better stats, getting more tackles for losses, getting more sacks, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, when the season starts, I'll sit down and I'll write on a piece of paper 3 goals that I'll have, and I'll stick it on my mirror right before the season starts. But if I'm just looking ahead, I'd probably say just looking for a certain amount of tackles for losses, a certain amount of sacks, certain amount of tackles, stuff like that.
And then a few just fun questions, because I feel we need to do that. What is your favorite food now in the NFL to snack on? Well, not even to snack on, just to eat.
If like unhealthy, like is it like a cheat day?
Cheat day. I want to hear the cheat day.
Cheat day.
Cheat day. All right. So I love Raising Cane's. You guys ever had Raising Cane's?
We don't have any here. There's one open in that's it though. There's one open in an upset.
Yeah, so there wasn't any in Pittsburgh growing up either, but when I went to Notre Dame, one opened my senior year, and I probably went there once a week. I mean, that place is fire. It's fire. So that if I had to cheat, I haven't had that in so long. But I've been on a diet, so I haven't had that in so long. I had a cheat day, probably be like that. I love Italian, like pastries, like baked goods, like sfogliatelle and stuff like that. So, something like that. There's a nice tea company from Pittsburgh called Turner's Tea. I'd probably have one of those, and then wash everything down with an ice cold Coke. Never go wrong with that. So
it's a pretty good cheat day. Maybe a honey bun.
No doubt.
What about music pregame? Any go-tos? Any you find yourself listening to music a lot or no?
Yeah, so I listen to music, but usually in the locker room pregame, the speakers are so loud. I'll go get a chair. I'll go sit in the shower, like where it's like quiet, and I'll just listen to music in there. I like to listen to like like just heavy metal, like kind of something makes you want to run through a wall type deal, something like that. So, kind of like to get in the zone, just get hit up with some caffeine, drink some espresso and hop in the zone. And you're ready to go.
Yeah,
Hit
good
the
old.
smoke out before you go out, you're ready to go.
And
Um,
what was your best moment from the year, you would say?
so I tell people this all the time. It was literally before every single game was like that's most memorable for me is every single game, whether it be a home game or an away game, was just listening to the national anthem and looking up into the stands and just really taking in the moment. Like, damn, I'm really in the NFL. Like, this is incredible. This is what you dream of. This is what you grew up dreaming of. To stand here and you see these guys on TV, this is what you dream of. So that was most memorable for me this year, is taking in the moment before every single game. Like, damn, this is crazy.
And then last one of the fun questions would be, what was your welcome to the NFL rookie moment this year?
I got double teamed by Jason Kelsey and Landon Dickerson on the on the goal line. It was like, so we got an offsides penalty and then they went for two because obviously they moved it to the half-yard line. They were in that QB sneak, which is just it's a pretty unstoppable play. I mean, you get the fullback behind him, you get the receiver behind Hurts, and it's just like it's hard to stop. You had Kelsey burrowing his head into the ground, and Dickerson burrowing his head into the ground. I came up the ball like think I was still in high school and got blown backwards. That was probably it for me. That was probably my welcome to the NFL moment. That and that was probably it. That was one of the times I got pretty lit up this year. That time I got every once in a while you'll slip and you'll fall and someone will just punish you. So something like that.
Yeah. And then our last question we usually end with everybody is, what is one piece of advice you have for aspiring athletes?
Um, I would tell a young kid, whatever you put your mind to, really dedicate yourself to that. Because I feel like a lot of people say, I want to be this, I want to be that, but they don't really put in the work that it takes to do that, right? So like a lot of people sit on their couch and like, man, I want to go play Division I football. Well, it's like you're sitting on your couch saying that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing there's I mean, there's nothing wrong with some people get too unrealistic with their goals. Um, so I like to shoot for goals that are attainable. You know what I'm saying? Like so I would just tell people, shoot for goals that are attainable. Small wins lead to big victories. So that's what I would tell these guys. I wouldn't get too caught up with the process. Just keep working. Punches will eventually land. Just keep throwing punches and they'll land. So
That's your big thing, throwing punches. I love it.
that's it, man. That's what I grew up, it's instilled in me from a young age, man. You never stop fighting until the day you're put in the ground, no matter what you're doing. So whether it be doing construction or whether it be playing football or whether it be doing a podcast like you guys are doing. So just always moving towards the end goal, always moving forward.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. And for everyone
No
listening,
Yeah.
be sure to subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts. And be sure to follow us at Bro Cave Sports. Again, thank you so much. Stay healthy, stay safe, and stay tuned for next episode.